Hey, welcome to Comic Toy Reviews. This is the Spotlight section, and today's character, if you haven't already guessed, it's the Hulk. Created in 1962 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Okay, let's first start out when the Hulk was being created. Rumor goes Stan went to Jack and that Stan Lee had an idea of crossing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde along with Frankenstein, and told Jack to draw basically a monster, but a sympathetic or likable monster. And then when he saw what Jack created, it was awesome, and they ran with it. The Hulk first appeared in issue 1 of the Incredible Hulk series, but he was gray. And in case you might not know, the legend goes that why he went from gray to green was the printing processes back in the 1960s. Gray was a very hard color to make consistent. There would be like light shades of gray, dark shades, but it couldn't handle the printing, the quality of it. So it was probably someone in the ball pen, I'm not sure if it was Stan Goldberg. He was a colorist at Marvel then, and basically told Stan what was up, that gray, they couldn't get it consistent. So he asked Stan what to do, and Stan said, what color is able to print good? And he said green, and then Stan said go with it, and that's why in the Incredible Hulk issue 2 he was green, not gray, and he's been green ever since, right? You know, for the most part, that's when you think of the Hulk, you think of the green guy. And back then in the creativity process, that's how it went. It wasn't like comics created now where you have a committee of people, a whole bunch of talking heads deciding go with this, go with that, change this or change that. Back then it was boom, just like making it on the spot. They didn't know they were making icons back then. They didn't know these things would last back then. And the first Hulk series went 6 issues, issues 1 to 6, and then it was cancelled. Looking back on that series and reading it, I could tell that the Hulk ideas were very, that Stan and company didn't know which way to go with the Hulk. His personality and what we know of him today wasn't basically formed in those early issues. It was one issue he was changing, for example, at sunset he would change to Hulk, sunrise he would change back to Banner. In one issue, Rick Jones was able to take control of him, say do this Hulk, and he would do that. Rick Jones had control. And then another issue, the Hulk would get hit with a ray, like a ray gun, change it back to Banner, and then when Banner used that ray machine, he would change back to the Hulk. And personality-wise, the Hulk was very, in the beginning, more brutal, but he was like Banner. And then his personality seemed like Banner was in control. And basically, idea-wise, you could tell it was probably up in the air, and they didn't have a good handle exactly on the character yet. Why he was cancelled after issue 6 was, I'm not sure exactly why, but I think just on what I read was that I know Marvel back then had a certain number of issues they could produce a month, meaning you could only produce this many issues from the publisher because there was a restriction on the distribution of the comic books and how many you could have a month out. So they had to have room for Spider-Man's book because Spider-Man hit big, and so the Hulk got cancelled because of that. I mean, that's just a rumor. I'm not 100% sure about that, but that's what I read somewhere. Anyway, but here's where the genius of a good editor and someone like Stan Lee really came in handy. He didn't forget about the character. Okay, I like to do a little aside here to talk about Jack Kirby's Fourth World for DC. You know, everyone hypes DC and the Fourth World as great books now, and yet it was an incomplete story because the DC editorial, then the management, didn't have Jack Kirby's vision of continuing the Fourth World and publishing it for 40, 50, or 100 issues, and now they would look back on it and love it as publishers. But back then they told Jack after 11 issues of New Gods, cancel the series and that was it. Jack Kirby moved on. He never touched that New Gods material again, unless they told him 2 decades later, but by then it was a whole different story. Same thing, Stan Lee could have told Jack Kirby after the Hulk was cancelled, stop publishing the Hulk, don't do anything with the character, that's it, it's over. But Stan Lee's vision of being a good editor, he kept the Hulk around. He made him guest star on Spider-Man, in the Fantastic Four, in Giant Man, and the Avengers, then fighting the Avengers. Stan made sure, even though the Hulk did not have a solo series, that keep the character around, keep him in the conscious mindset of the Marvel Universe, just make sure he's around. That's the good editorial vision of Stan Lee, that he knew a good thing, just don't let it go to waste. DC, with the New Gods example, they let the Fourth World go to waste. Of course, Jack Kirby could have kept producing it, but they told him to move on to other stuff, and he did. Jack was a guy who, besides being a visionary, also followed orders. If you said publish this, he would make it. If you said don't publish this, he wouldn't make it. In his creative energies. So Stan Lee kept the Hulk around, and then in Tales to Astonish number 59, which was Giant Man's book, the Hulk guest starred. Then the Giant Man series went under, and issue 60 of Tales to Astonish was the Hulk's second series. It was a flip book that he was sharing, but the artist this time was Steve Ditko, the co-creator of Spider-Man. He took over the first few issues and introduced the one element the Hulk was missing then was a main villain. Introduced the leader, and then the Hulk stories, also Glenn Talbot, the affections for Betty, and then that whole love triangle. Under Steve, the storyline and the character really began to mesh in this new series of the Hulk, and then Jack Kirby came on board, and then the Hulk as we know him, the personality and the character and who he is, really formed, in my opinion, on the Tales to Astonish series, that really got the Hulk rolling in terms of a character and how his universe worked. As I said, the first 6 issues of the Hulk first series was really a creative mesh of going different directions before they could find something. But this Tales to Astonish 60, which ran into issue 101, really formed the Hulk into who he was, introduced some classic characters like Abomination in there. And then issue 102 was the first Hulk series solo book where he had the whole issue to himself. That's right, Hulk 102 was his first issue of his continuing regular series. They changed the Tales to Astonish numbering and the name to the Hulk, and so they gave Hulk the whole book. And that ran to over 400 issues. You know, that's the Hulk series as we know it. And great stuff about it. I think one of the key Hulk things that made him an icon and why he's recognized like the world over as one of Marvel's big guns is because of the 1970s Lou Ferrigno, Bill Bixby Hulk TV series. It was a great series. I know I was watching it back then, little, and a whole bunch of probably people, maybe you watch that Hulk series. And I think culturally that influenced the Hulk in terms of making him a mainstream icon that really brought it to the public mindset of the character of the Hulk. And I like that series. Looking back on it, it was actually a sad series. It wasn't a happy series, and it usually had like a sad tone to it. And here's this guy, Bill Bixby, as Banner, doing these things, and you knew he would Hulk out. You knew some guy would like beat him up, throw him in the corner. And that was like the best part of the series, right? Next thing you know, he turns to Hulk and throws the shirt off and kicks butt. And then you had that reporter after him, and then he had to move to the next town. And it was a good, a really good TV series. Something they really don't have something like that now. And then another great issues of the Hulk series was, I think, either like him or not as an artist, is Todd McFarlane, when he was with Peter David and they were doing the Grey Hulk. Those were awesome Hulk issues. And then Dale Keown and around that Hulk era, when they merged the Hulk, his personalities, and he was the smart Hulk. I really liked those books. It was a great run. And so hopefully checked it out. If you're a Hulk fan, I was talking about the early years here. As it stands right now, Hulk is an icon in the Marvel Universe. He's one of the top 5, I would say, most recognizable Marvel characters that you mentioned when you say Marvel Heroes. He's in there. And when you have reached a level of status that he has as a fictional character, it's going to be published probably like forever. You know, it's not going to go away anytime soon. In some way, shape, or form, the Hulk is a character that will be around. He has stood the test of time, and he will continue to stand the test of time and bring great enjoyment to the readers and to the people who like the Hulk. And it's a great character overall that's, again, generational, and fans of the character, and he's going to be around as long as we can tell. So, thanks for watching. Hopefully you like this video, subscribe, and I'll have more spotlight videos on different characters in the future. Catch you later.